First, I would like to demonstrate S/4HANA integration with Ariba applications via CIG for master data export. And next topic I would pick up would be a demonstration of S/4HANA integration with Ariba buying and invoicing, where I would try to run through one complete cycle of from creation of a shopping cart to posting of invoice in the backend system. So moving on to the first topic, for master data integration with S/4HANA via CIG. So as we know that before we are ready to start executing business transactions on the application, it is important that we have all the master data set up correctly in the application, and specifically where we have a integrated backend system, it is also important that the master data in the backend system should be in complete sync with the application. So master data here actually would cover all the different type of data which you would need for doing a business transaction. May it be organization data, accounting data, cross-application data, suppliers and user data, or material master. So what we have here as a part of Ariba integration gateway solution is that we have a standard integration which is available with the backend system and the Ariba application. We get Ariba CIG add-on which is installed on the ERP, that could be SAP S/4HANA or SAP ECC, and as a part of this add-on, what we get is a standard program which does the master data extraction and also mapping of the ERP fields with the Ariba application and creation of upload files. So in this demo, we will actually look through that. So there are a couple of configuration steps which are required to be done to achieve this standard integration for master data export from the backend system to Ariba applications. But what I would like to cover in the demonstration today would be some of the key steps which we need to do, and these are very simple steps. I would want to run them through. So the first step we would need to do would be to configure the Ariba application, where primarily we would be installing the tenant certificate, and we need to download that from the CIG portal and upload onto the Ariba application. So as a second step, we would need to maintain some key parameters in the backend system. It could be SAP ECC or S/4HANA. And then we'll come to the step of maintaining filters. By way of that, we will actually determine what kind of data set we would want to upload into the Ariba application, and we can control that by maintaining these filters. Then as a last step, we will execute the export master data extraction program, and we will generate upload file, and we will see that file flowing through CIG into the application. So moving on to the demo. So first, what we will look at is the step one, which would be wherein we will log into the Ariba CIG portal. And once we are logged on, we can navigate to the tab, which is resources. And herein, once we click on this, we will see option of CIG certificates, and we explode it. We have test and production, and for test environment, we can click on the test, and then we will see the option to download the tenant certificate. So once we click on this, we'll be able to download the certificate, which will be a TXT file. Once we open that, what we need to do is we'll copy this certificate, and then we log on to Ariba application. So once we log on to the application, so there we will see an option to under manage, we'll see option of core administration. We click on that, and then we will have we can navigate to the node as integration manager. There we will see option to as integration toolkit security. We click on that, and we select the authentication method as certificate, and then we can copy the certificate. Once the certificate copied here, then we can save it. So this is a step of installing the tenant certificate, and with that we would complete our step 1. And next we go to the second step. So our second step is that we would need to maintain some key parameters in the SAP ECC or S/4HANA system. So for that we log on to the system. And once we are logged on, we move on to the transaction SPRO. So here we will see all the configuration nodes, and we can scroll down to the configuration node. Has the integration with other SAP components, and there then we should expand into SAP Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway node. And here we will see something as master data integration. So we expand into that, then we would come across general settings. After expanding that, we will see maintain parameters. Once we expand this, we will see there are different nodes for maintaining parameters for cross-application master data objects as well as for procurement and sourcing. So we will need to maintain these parameters, and details of how and what values we need to set up here are mentioned in the configuration guide. We can refer that. But we will need to do this for all the nodes here for procurement, sourcing, and for cross-application components. So once we have done that, we would have completed the step 2. And in the step 3, we would maintain some filters, and by way of that, we would be able to define what is the set of master data which we would want to sync up with the Ariba application. So here again, once we expand into the configuration node as maintain filters, we'll see different nodes, a node for cross-application master data maintenance. And here we have different master data objects, and against each object we have the operators as equal to or between. So based on using these different operators, we can define our selection of master data set. And similarly, the same step can also be done for procurement master data set and as well as for the sourcing master data set. So once we are completed with defining filters, so we should be fine with our step 3. Then as a step 4, we will need to execute the master data extraction program. For that, we will go on to transaction SC38 and execute the data extraction program. So this data extraction program is available as a part of the CIG add-on, which is installed on the backend system. So once we execute this, what we will see would be a kind of a dashboard where we can do different selections. First we can select whether we want to execute this program in test mode or in the actual mode. Then we can also do a selection of the application for which we need to do the master data extraction. So it could be procure to pay, sourcing, or procure to orders. And then we also see option to define whether we want to do a full upload or incremental load. So after we have done that, then we need to maintain some parameters on variant and partition. And here in the bottom part of the screen, we see that we have an option to select different master data. So initially probably we'll do the selection of all the data and upload it, but subsequently depending on the need, we can select a particular master data set. Right now for this demo, I'm just selecting it for WDS element, and then I would execute this. And once the program executes, I will be able to see the results in terms of how many records are extracted and also the path where the file is saved. So once this extraction file is generated, it will be submitted to the CIG gateway, and I can then navigate to transaction tracker and also set up the search criteria, select the test environment and the other parameters and do a search. So I would be able to see the message file here received in the CIG, and as we see that the first line item here is corresponding to that. So as we can see, this sender system here is the backend system and the receiver system is the application. So once I click on this, I can also see details of this message. So I can see that there is a inbound file and then there is an outbound file which is created and forwarded to the application for importing the data into it. So then now next I log on to the application here, and there I have option to look at the import and export files. So I click on the import tab, and I can see the master data file getting uploaded here. So in the status, it reflects as completed, and I can click on this to look at the status of import, where I would be shown as to how many records are newly created, updated or deleted. And similarly, corresponding to this section, there are two files. The second file is for company code WBS mapping. So here again, I can look at the status of how many such records are created and updated. So as we can see that the files were successfully uploaded into the application. So we see that the integration with the backend system and the Ariba application using CIG approach works quite seamlessly, and there are a few simple steps which are required to be implemented and configured, and we can then easily manage the synchronization of master data with the backend system. So next, I will move on to the next topic of running a demonstration of S/4HANA integration with the Ariba buying and invoicing by CIG. So once we have the master data set up in the application, we would be ready to execute business transactions. So here the flow which I would demonstrate would be that I would log into the Ariba Procurement application and create a shopping cart, which will then convert into a purchase requisition. Then after the purchase requisitions are approved, we will see that the purchase order gets created, and then there is a message which gets triggered and gets submitted to the Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway, and which is then sent across to the backend system, where the purchase order gets created, and then this purchase order number and the PO status is sent back as a confirmation message, which comes and updates the document here in the Ariba Procurement. So once the goods are received, then the business user would actually post a good receipt in the procurement application, which will again create a GR message, which will be submitted to the integration gateway, and then we will see there will be a GR which will get posted in the backend system, and the GR number will then get updated back into the procurement application. And as a last step, there would be submission of invoice by the business users, which will then trigger the invoice message, which will pass through the Ariba integration gateway, and which result into posting of the invoice in the backend system. And as a status update, the invoice document number will flow back and update into the Ariba procurement application. So we will now log on to the procurement application, and we will look at the flow. So first, we will log on to the Ariba procurement, and here I would get on to create a requisition. So once I click on requisition, sorry. Just yeah, I'll have to rerun this. Yeah, so what we are seeing now is the step of creating requisition. So to create requisition, and for this demo I would go in with creating a requisition with the non-catalog item. Okay, there's some. Okay, so once we click on add non-catalog items, so first step we would add the description of the item which we want to buy. So here, for example, I'm taking this purchase of whiteboard marker pack. Once I enter the details for the description, and then I get on to selecting the commodity code, and I would select the item category and the quantity I want to purchase, and as well as the price. So then I get on to update this shopping cart, and I would add a supplier, and then I go on to add to shopping cart. So I can add more items to it, but for this demo I would just then proceed to checkout. And then I would see purchase requisition getting created. I would add a title to that. And then I will scroll down to see if there are other fields which are required to be filled. I'll add need by date. And then I would click on to check and I read the details, and I see that there is one error. Let me scroll down further and see. So I would check all the information here. So need to enter bill to. So I go ahead and check all the rest of the details on this purchase requisition. So once everything looks fine, I can go ahead and click OK and submit. So this will complete the step of creating purchase requisition in the Ariba Procurement application. And if I come back and look at the status of this, I would see the status would be shown as submitted. So next, this purchase requisition would require approvals. So I will have to log on to the different users who can approve the purchase requisition. So I log on as a P user 4, and then we get on to look into the to-do list. So here I should be seeing the purchase requisition waiting for approval. So I would select this requisition here, and so I can see that there are 3 levels of approvals here. So for this demo, I would just skip the rest of the 2 steps, and I'll just do the level 1 approval here and proceed. So once all the required approvals are done, then as a next step, if we come back and refresh the status here, we would see that the status changes back to either ordering or ordered, depending on whether in the backend system the purchase order is already created. So like we see that the status here gets updated to ordered, which means that the moment the approval was done, the message had flown back to the backend system and the purchase order was created in the backend system. So this we can look at once we log on to the CIG portal and we click on the transaction tracker and we refresh. So we should be able to see all the inbound and outbound messages here, where we see that this is a message was triggered, the outbound message from Ariba application and was sent to the backend system, and this is a inbound message which has come back. So this would have updated the purchase order number back. So if we now come back and look at the purchase requisition which was created, we should be able to see this purchase order number updated here. So if I look at this, so this is the purchase order number which has posted back from the backend system, and I can look at this purchase order. So as a next step, I can go ahead and post good receipt against this order, and for that I click on the receive and then I enter the quantity receipt. So I would go ahead and receive the entire quantity 10. And I would submit the receipt. So I would see the moment submission is done, there would be an outbound message which will get triggered and sent to the CIG gateway, and which will then post good receipt in the backend system. So if I go back to the home screen, I would see the status updated as received, which means that the GR is successfully posted in the backend system. And if I come back to the CIG portal and look at the transaction tracker, I should be able to see the outbound and inbound messages, where we see here there are 2 messages. First one is the outbound message, the second one is the inbound messages, so which would have updated the GR number back into the Ariba Procurement application. So if I can also now log into the backend system and check on the purchase order as well as the GR. So I log on to the backend system here and enter the purchase order number. So the purchase order which we are looking at is 316. So once I enter all this, I can look at this purchase order which we just created. So for the short description of whiteboard marker packs. And if I click on the item details, I can look at all the rest of the other details of this order. And in the tab purchase order history, I should be able to see the GR which just got posted. I click on this purchase order history, and where we can see that this is a good receipt which was posted, and the good receipt number is here. And we'll see that same number is updated in the Ariba Procurement application as well. So we click on here and we look at the receipts tab, and if we expand this further, so we will see that external receipt ID is the one which was GR which was posted in the backend system, and the document number is updated here. So if we look at the CIG portal here, we can see the complete trail of all the inbound and outbound messages. So this becomes a good way to keep track of all the messages and for troubleshooting as well. And as a next step to it, the business user will actually, once the invoice is received, would post the invoice in the Ariba Procurement. So I would log on to a different user in a different session and click on the create invoice option here. So I have different options of creating invoice. I would go with the PO based invoice, and I would enter the PO number here, which will then populate all rest of the other details into the invoice. And then as a next step, I would enter the invoice date here. And as well as the supplier invoice number. So once all the details are updated, I would click on the details to check if there and more details which are required to be updated. So what I need to update is also a reference date. And then I click on update, and then finally I go on to submit. So the moment I click on submit, I would see that if I come back to the home screen, I would see this invoice under status as reconciling. Then if you refresh, and maybe there would be an additional step of exception approval which I need to do. So I would click on to-do list, which I come back. And looks that the invoice which we created is just here, and we need to do the exception acceptance here. So once we complete this step, click on open, and we accept the invoice X amount. So once this step is completed, we can go ahead and submit and then save. So now so this would complete the step of creating invoice in the Ariba application. And if we go back to the so we should be able to see if we look at the CIG portal and we refresh the status, we will also see the inbound and outbound messages which are triggered corresponding to the invoice creation from the Ariba application back to the backend system, and the message, inbound message flowing back and updating the invoice number here. So this is the inbound message which has come back to the Ariba application with the updated invoice number. And we would see that this invoice number will then get updated in the Ariba procurement. We open up this order here, and in the invoices we will see the invoice number, and in the payments we click on the payments, we will see the invoice document numbers which is posted in the backend system. So if we click on this, so the ERP invoice number is the invoice number which is the invoice which is posted in the backend system, and it is updated back into the Ariba application. So if we log back into the backend system, we can refresh it. In the PO history, we will see the invoice number updated as well. So as you see here, the invoice number is updated. So in this demo, we have seen the flow of document, purchase order document, and flow of goods receipt, and also the flow of invoice document. So as we can see that CIG provides for a very simple steps to set up the integration, and which can be quickly done. And the other important aspect is it can be scaled up very quickly, which means that if we have already set up an integration project for one application and we want to extend the integration to another application, we can just do a copy of the integration project. And so that makes it quite scalable. There is also possibility to extend and expand the integration depending on the customization requirements that may be there. And the other important aspect is that as we have seen that in the Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway transaction tracker, that gives us a complete visibility of all the inbound and outbound messages. And there is also possibility of re-triggering or reprocessing a message if we find that in the receiving system that message has failed for any reason. So in summary, I would say that Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway solution is a solution which actually enables the integration of Ariba applications with the backend system in much easier and much quick